How was it fighting Gervonta Davis? What was he like?
And for the first time ever in the back room, I said to myself, I'm losing this fight.
Oh, you said you knew?
Mm-hmm. I knew right in the back room. I said, nothing's going right. I'm so weak. None of my punches are coming off sharp. I'm going to lose this fight. I just said, how I'm going to lose this fight? This is going to be crazy.
Who'd you say that to? Just
myself.
Yourself? Got it.
How am I going to lose it? Okay, all right, trust you, God. So I'll tell you a story about this. So Justin Bieber and Bad Bunny are supposed to walk me out. Both of them fall out. I'm like, God, why are they? What is going on? God says, because I want you to walk out with me. And only me. I said, what do you mean by that? I opened up TikTok, comes out the song Oceans. I said, I know exactly, okay. I'm coming out to that song. I made that decision within the fight week. That wasn't something I pre-planned. I said, okay, God, I hear you. I tell them to play what part and all that. Boom, boom. I break it down. I hit the numbers. Boom, boom, boom. They got it all on set. And I say to myself, God, I trust you. That's what the song's about. Trust you without borders. You know, take me to deep waters and I'm going to trust you. I knew I was going to lose, but it's okay. I'm going to trust you and I'm going to give it my all right now. So the moment I caught him in the second round, I tried to knock him out. I said, I'm so weak. I got to try to end it early. I never seen a person have the most saddest face I ever seen in my life. When I looked at Gervonta, he looked like he's so sad. Like he had a genuine fear in his mind that something's bad's gonna happen to him. If you go to the beginning of that second round, I cracked him. And then he was like, he literally stopped and looked at me and goes, grabs me. And I'm trying to kill him because I'm like, I have no power, but I'm gonna just use whatever I have right now. He recovers, then drops me. I'm thinking he's gonna come after me. I said, let's go. He starts moving the same way he was. He told me if I ever drop you like Luke Campbell dropped you, I'm gonna go get your ass. I said, okay. He dropped me. What happened? I got right back up and I said, let's go. He started retreating. How do you retreat when you just drop somebody that's already weakened? I'm already weakened. Why don't you just come and destroy me? You already dropped me. Because he knew what I was really about. It's okay. At the end of the day, I told everybody, I'm going to do this, this, and that. I'm going to get everything back in blood. I will never let nobody play me like that in negotiations ever again. That will never happen. Ever. I'm going to beat this guy, this guy, this guy. I'm going to get so big that Gervonta has to fight me. And we're going to do it on the right and fair terms.
Ryan Garcia blames his rib. Said he had a separated rib in the Gervonta Davis fight. He's blaming the weight cut for his loss to Gervonta Davis. Now he says he wants a rematch and he wants it on his terms and he wants it to be fair. That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing. Ryan Garcia, he has done an interview with PBD podcast and it was pretty eventful. I mean, he went from spitting J. Cole lyrics to talking about Jesus, like literally in a matter of seconds, maybe 15 seconds. He says, fool me once, that's shame on me. Fool me twice, that's shame on you. Something. And then he said, fool me 3 times, it's F the peace sign. I'll let the chopper rain on you, which is a J. Cole line. I don't know what that has to do with Jesus, and it's weird, you know, that's not even Christian rap just to be talking about J. Cole bars and then talking about Jesus. But moving on. Thing he said, and I can't let it ride. I gotta speak on it. Is he's now saying he was weight drained and he was weakened at the weight and all that type of stuff. And per usual, the usual suspects, they won't talk about this. When a non-black fighter, quote unquote, makes excuses for a loss, you never see it really brought up by the usual suspects in old media. But let it be Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. And they're making fun of him and saying, oh, I thought the suit was too heavy. And like literally years later, they're still talking about Wilder's suit and all this type of stuff. But then you have Ryan Garcia in broad daylight doing an interview and he's making an excuse. You know, when Errol Spence says he has cataracts, which, I mean, he flew through a car. It's not hard to fathom that that came with something. And we knew he had a detached retina, which is why he had to pull out from the Manny Pacquiao fight that was already signed, and they even had a press conference. But this is what they don't tell you. So when Errol Spence had the detached retina and pulled out the Pacquiao fight, the same usual suspects in old media, they made it seem like Errol Spence was ducking smoke with Manny Pacquiao. When the fight was first announced, they said he was cherry picking an older Pacquiao, but then when he pulled out with the eye injury, the detached retina, and the doctors pulled him from the fight when they went to do a check, then they said he was ducking. And they said his patch was on the wrong eye and all that type of stuff. And then when he has finally come out and talked about the Terrence Crawford loss, Errol Spence stated that he had cataracts, which obstructed his vision, which if you look it up, detached retina, cataract surgery is usually something that happens to people who have had the detached retina surgery. It's like a further complication, kind of like an earthquake. After you have the main earthquake, there could be aftershocks. And that's what happens with certain surgeries. You have a surgery on something and then, people develop cataracts. You can look it up. So I don't believe that Errol Spence is making this up. I think he was in a horrific car accident and it left him, with some lingering issues. And, people can say, oh, but he beat Danny Garcia. Well, Danny Garcia is not Terrence Crawford. Different styles, different people. Danny's not a southpaw. Ugas is not a southpaw. Terrence Crawford is ambidextrous and fought the whole fight like a southpaw, right? And he has his own style, which is completely different than the previous two. So anyway, back to Ryan Garcia. It's funny to hear this stuff from Ryan Garcia. And again, when it's a PBC fighter, when it's a black fighter, it seems like this is a big deal. The fighter is reamed, the fighter is insulted for making excuses, but then Ryan Garcia is telling you he lost for this and that reason. The week before the fight or before the fight, Ryan Garcia's own dad and Ryan, they said the catch weight wasn't a problem. They said he's making weight and they don't care about the rehydration clause. They're still going to knock out Tank Davis. And Henry Garcia even said that he likes the rehydration clause because he doesn't want his fighter Ryan to get heavier. He doesn't want him to gain too much weight, and he wants him to be like agile and quick. Now Ryan Garcia is saying something completely different. So which one is worse? Now, I'm not accepting this from Ryan Garcia. He keeps saying on this podcast that Tank tricked him. How did he trick you if he put whatever terms in a contract and you signed it? You chose to sign it. That's not being duped. That's not being tricked. If your lawyer or your representation is not going to read the fine print and know the terms and convey that to you, then that's an internal problem that you have to discuss with your team. But I don't think it was a problem. I don't think that Ryan Garcia's team did not let him know what the terms were. In fact, I know they let him know what the terms were because he talked about them in interviews leading up to the fight about how there's a rehydration clause and this. So it's like Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence had a bilateral rematch clause. Crawford can't get mad if Errol Spence wants the rematch and triggers the rematch and act brand new when you knew that was part of the equation, that he had jurisdiction, that he had that right to push for a rematch within a certain amount of time. So I don't call that being tricked. You're not being tricked. Whether you should have agreed to it or not, that's really on you. If you didn't like the terms, don't agree to it, right? And then you go on and build your career and do whatever, and then Tank fight somebody else, and that's how that works. That's what typically happens if you don't like the terms. But Ryan agreed to the terms, and then now he's trying to double back. But the fact remains, the history books will show Gervonta Davis defeated you. He dropped you in the second round, won every round, and he knocked you out. So you can pander to your audience or to the sympathizers and say, oh, but my rib was separated. But what really got separated was your undefeated record. And now it has a blemish thanks to Gervonta Davis. as time wears on, people tend to forget like nuanced details unless they're regular Burt Sugars and boxing historians. So what they will remember is who was victorious. Like, I'm sure Ali versus George Foreman, there's little nuanced things that get lost over the years in history that were maybe some details. Like, let's say George Foreman had tennis elbow. No one talks about that. No one's going to talk about George Foreman unless it's just like some old head who lived it and he was telling you some story on a podcast or whatever. But majority of people, when they think of the Thriller in Manila, when they think of Muhammad Ali, I shook up the world, yeah, and they think of the greatest, that's what they're talking about. How Muhammad Ali defeated George Foreman, and many people pegged him as the underdog and thought he would lose and thought George Foreman was way too strong. That's what the history books will show. So that's why it doesn't really even make sense when you take a L to take a L in such a way. Just learn from it, grow, and keep it pushing. But when fighters start saying a million excuses, see, and the other thing, Ryan is one of the people who, again, social media works for him, but then it also doesn't. It works against him. What do I mean? So there's that Mongolian boxer. Hey, King Ryan, I'm sorry I injure you in sparring. Are you okay? Right? That guy. The rumor suggested that he separated the rib, Ryan Garcia's rib hurt him in sparring. But then if you listen to the PBD podcast that Ryan just did, he said he was drained from losing weight, and that's why he had a separated rib in a rib injury. So which one is it? Did the Mongolian boxer and Olympian hurt your rib, or did you do it because you were weight drained? So cope harder. That's just what it seems like. It seems like a coping mechanism. And then furthermore, Ryan sounds insane thinking he can dictate the terms on Tank Davis when you lost. Like, what part of boxing is that? When has that ever worked for anybody? You guys let me know in the comment section. Name a time in boxing where you had a person who, not per the contract, like the contract with AJ versus Ruiz stipulated probably the location. Ruiz didn't necessarily get to pick that even if he won, right? But name a time in boxing where a guy who already was the A side does what the A side does and defeats the B side, and then the B side somehow miraculously got to call the shots after losing. And I'm not talking about like, oh, a controversial loss. I'm talking about where you got knocked out and you lost and then you got to call the shots. It's just, I've never even seen that happen. That would be like Miguel Cotto, who was already an A-side over Sergio Martinez, and Cotto knocks out Sergio Martinez. Let's say they did a rematch. First of all, no one even really wants to see a rematch because of how the first fight played out. But hypothetically, if they did, why would Sergio Martinez get to dictate to Cotto if Cotto already stopped you? Unheard of. Totally unheard of. Subscribe to my channel. I am the best in boxing history, and it's not even close. Subscribe for more boxing content. Let me know what you guys think of Ryan Garcia and what he's saying in a recent interview. Sounds like some excuses to me. Drop it. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.